Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Shua Allegra, the founder of Grace and Hope Consulting. And so we're talking about resilience, right? And today I have another friend with me, Rebekah. If you don't mind just sharing who you are, what you do, and where you're located.
Yes, I'm Rebekah Wolff. I want to say it's an honor to be working with you, by the way. I'm located out in Wisconsin, West Bend, Wisconsin. I'm a licensed professional counselor and I'm a life coach, a whole purpose life coach. I help people with transitions and finding purpose and meaning in their life. In addition, I do some online counseling in addition to local private practice. So I have like foreign clients in addition to domestic clients. And I'm a mom, a cancer survivor, and an author.
Yes, not just an author, a best-selling author. Yeah, and it's been such an honor, to work with you part of that journey, helping you birth your book and share your story of resilience, right? Speaking of resilience, like you say, you are a cancer survivor. So, cancer came, you beat cancer, and then you live to tell the story, and not just your story, but now you're helping families, support their children as a mom is going through breast cancer. That's amazing. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah, and so speaking of resilience, when you think about your own journey, before we even get to your journey, just I guess in general, when you hear resilience, like what are the things that come to mind for you?
Oh, tons. I learned a lot through cancer, but if I had to take an electric approach of everything I went through in my life, it is really a lot about faith and having a positive attitude. My
Mhm.
book that we're talking about, Dear God, Please Make My Mommy Feel Better, we have a whole section about faith and trust. And that is my journey.
Mhm.
I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I just have the faith that I'll be okay. And I think that's what got me through a lot of hardships in life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And actually, in the book that we then worked on together, in addition, so the book that she mentioned, which I have my copy here,
Yay.
um, there's a children's book, and that's her solo book that Grissom Consulting had the honor to publish and help her get to best-selling author. And then the other book is Be Resilient, right? Stories, strategies, and tools to help you rise above your circumstances. That's a novel collaboration project that Grissom Consulting put together. And there are six of us, all women, and actually all of us have businesses. All of us are leaders in one way or another, and I believe all of us are also moms on there. So it's women and just the diversity it's in itself. It's amazing. We're all from different walks of life, different part of the world, actually, and all found ourselves here in the US and connected somehow. And so that alone is amazing. But as part of that book, we all share things that we had to overcome that taught us resilience. So yes, your cancer journey is one story, but in the book you talk about another story, and I let you just give them a little tidbit. Not give them too much because they have to go get the book and read the story there.
Yeah, I don't want to give up too much.
Exactly, but just a little back. What's that other story that that you had to journey through that also taught you and gave you resilience?
It kind of echoes a theme of self-love. I was given up for adoption. I was born in a third world country in the Philippines. I was adopted by American missionaries, but I was an infant, but you lose your culture when you're adopted. You lose your biological family, your parents. And so it was going through that loss and probably just trying to find myself in this world of being adopted. And then I moved from the Philippines to the US. So then my parents were Caucasian. My adopted family was Caucasian. I was still Filipino, but just not a lot of people that were in my race growing up. So having to do just kind of, as a young teenage girl, impressionable, trying to find my identity, what I felt good in, and that theme of, did they give me up? Did they not love me enough? Is it me? And having to find that myself journey of feeling good about myself.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, whew, I think that alone, that's a whole different book, right? Like not a different, it's a whole book in itself. So you share a chapter about it, but I think that story not only it transpired through many years, but it also has such a big impact in your life and what you do today, right? And so being a teenager, it's already such a, for lack of a better term, a rocky,
Yeah. Yeah.
such a rocky, season in life, right? And there's just so many changes that happening, internally, physically, emotionally, all the hormones and all of that. And so it's a time where people are trying to find, ask themselves and define themselves, who am I? What
Hmm.
do I stand for? where do I belong? What's my place on this earth? What's my reason to be? And so that alone, that's for every teen, right? When we get into those adolescent age, group and moving forward to teenage, that's things that, everyone, kind of go through. It's part of the development. But then for some of us, when we have other things that happen to us already before we enter that stage of life, then we kind of have a lot of things against us per se. And things that are totally outside of our control, right? So it could be, like you said, being given for adoption and then coming to a whole different culture, a whole different country. And like, okay, now I have to figure out who I am as a person, but how do I fit my, as a Filipino woman, young lady, into an American culture when I'm still don't even know who I am as a person?
An Americanized culture. Yeah. I realized too, growing up, my parents jokingly would tell me I was a minority there because I got adopted so young. And then coming here, a minority here. I said, it doesn't look like anybody. But even if I would go back to my birth country, I'd still be a minority just because I would be so Americanized. So like, no matter where I go, I'm a minority. and it's okay. I've definitely assimilated to it. But I think as a youngster, you feel like it's a curse. But then as you get older, you appreciate the diversity and the uniqueness. So now it's just more special. It's such a unique teenage experience.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it now. I wouldn't trade it now because it's made me who I am.
Yeah. And I have to echo that because, originally I'm from Pacific Congo. So my stepmom came to Congo. I was 5. So I was 5, born in Congo and raised there until the age of 5. Then introduced to the American culture by a, Caucasian, American mother who raised me, as an American. And, in an African culture, right? And then I come to the US at the first time. I think I was 9.5 or 10, I believe. And I stayed for like a year and a half. And then I went back to Congo and it was such a culture shock. I was here for a year and a half.
Wow.
Year and a half. I went back. I'm like, who in the world am I? What am I doing here? I was too American. I was too American for my African, friends. And I was too African for the American friends, right? And you're just like, I don't fit anywhere. And I thought it was just a teenage thing, but get this, it gets worse. But and also it get not just worse, but also gets good or better, I guess, as time went by. So I went back to Africa. I stayed there, for quite a few, I think 7 or 8 years. Came back here in 2004, and then as I came back here in 2004. My now ex-husband was in Morocco, a different part of Africa. So I we got married there. And every time I had to travel back and forth, I was among a lot of Congolese people from my country, my original country, if you want. And although I could speak the language, and that's a whole different story because when I went back as a teen, I was never a teen, a preteen at 11 and a half. And so I spoke French, which is like, the official language. But then there's like the national language, which is Lingala, which everybody spoke. I didn't even know how to speak that. I was raised by an American mom. I was learning to speak English from people at home. And so I had to learn that. So people like, well, yeah, just a little, it was too off, right? And so I get that. And so as I got older, like I'm saying, going back and forth to Morocco and back here, I was around, friends that are from Congo. I looked like them and maybe I sound like them, but I was not like them. And for them too, I was too American. I was too independent woman, because apparently, the whole culture impacts us. Not apparently, culture impacts us, right? And
absolutely.
So for and I find myself again in my early 20s, right back into where I was in my teen years. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm around African friends, but we don't see things eye to eye. We don't, we don't do life the same way. We don't have the same principles. And then when I come here in the US, I love being here and I'm grateful that I'm here. But they're part of the American culture that I appreciate, that I don't want to associate with either. So it's kind of, I literally had to create my own identity. And I know that you had to kind of navigate that for yourself as well. By looking back, now that I'm a mom, I have children, my kids get to assimilate, if you want, both cultures, but also, we kind of we're choosing rather than feeling like we have to, take all of what America gives us or all of what Congo gives us. It's like now we're creating something that's totally different. Yeah. And it's like it's just hodgepodge, right? We're just mixing all the things that impacted us throughout mom's life, I guess, and now they're living through it. But at the end of the day, like you're saying, it's knowing, okay, who am I? What am I here for? What do I fit in? And you might not always fit in. And I can tell you, I even just talked to a friend about this not long ago. where although I've been here for 17 years, although, my kids are born here and raised here, I have times and often feel like I have no roots.
Mm,
I don't feel connected here as I was emotionally connected to people back home. But
wow.
yet, if I go back home, I cannot function like the way they do because I operate in a very American way, right? So
Mhm.
it's okay to get to that point where you're like, I don't have to be like everybody else. I don't have to
Exactly.
be like my upbringing. For those of us who are, people of faith, it's like, okay, God, who do you want me to be? God saw all of this, he saw every single day of my life and my entire journey, your entire journey, and knew that you'll be born in the Philippines, come here in the US, and then, kind of combine both cultures and make it your own in your own unique way. And that's okay. That's
I
okay.
know. I love it. I love it. It took me years to realize that's such a cool thing that we can do. And then I had this mentality of shifting it from, when you're a teacher, am I good enough for these people? Am I good enough? Do I look right enough? And now it's like, are they good enough for me?
I love it. That's
That's it.
resilience right there.
The sassy attitude, but it got me by.
But no, but let's flip that coin a little bit. That's
Mhm.
resilience, because when you're trying to fit in, it's like you're trying to please everybody, be everything
Yeah,
to everyone, and you lose yourself. Been there,
right,
done that. For me, it was in my marriage. I didn't even know who I was because, yeah,
right.
it's still for a different day. But anyway, and as you go through that teenage year, you're trying to fit in with cliques, with groups, right? And then you
Yeah.
you enter the workforce, you're trying to fit in at work, and then sometimes you're trying to fit in at church. It's like, I just want to find my people. And then you
Hmm.
realize that you are molding yourself to literally be a chameleon everywhere you go and fit into your environment, and you never have your own true identity.
And it's unsatisfying it's very miserable to just go by what everyone else is doing and you're just not, there's no heart
It's
in it.
emotionally draining.
You're not living for yourself. You aren't living for yourself.
Yeah, it's so emotionally draining. And then, like, I like what you said there, but then you start asking, it's not, am I good enough for them? Are they good enough for me? And it's not to say that people are not good enough, but I think what I'm hearing for that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you get to the point where you no longer have to please anybody or fit in a mode. You know who you are, you value yourself, and then you want to associate with people who add value to you as well.
That's exactly it, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, and that's growth, right? Because with resilience, like, things happen, life crushes you down, pushes you down, and then you kind of merge out of that and, get your power back, and,
Yes.
that's
And
it.
that's a bit of a lot of self-worth and self confidence combined.
Yes,
And
yes,
that takes years to build. I mean, we all can actually improve in those areas.
always, always, right? Nobody's ever achieved yet, right? It's a journey. It's not a destination. So keep journaling on that road, right? For all of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the book, so that's a little bit, that's the story. You talk about your journey coming from the Philippines and, being adopted by American missionaries, coming to the US and trying to fit in and figure out who you are, and, because you're finding that self-worth and that self-confidence. And then here you are today. You are, best-selling author. You have your licensed professional counselor. You're a life coach. You are giving back. It's not just all the things you're doing, but you do it because now you're giving back because of the places you've been through. So if you just,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
It's for my little inner child right there, for that little girl that was scared or, oh gosh, you're brown, I'm white, and they're making fun of you. And it's
Mm,
for that girl that had to like go through all those tears and find identity in ways that it might have taken years, might have been through a circumstance like cancer or something to find out like, gosh, I am lovable. I am worthy. My parents maybe given me up for adoption, but didn't mean I was any less
mm,
worthy than anyone else.
yeah.
So yeah, it's for that girl, it's for the children, it's for kids, it's
Mhm,
for those adults that probably are reading that book and they can identify with that little inner child within themselves that,
mhm.
gosh, that was me at one point. I
Yeah.
didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like I fit in at one point. We
Mhm,
all have something that kind of sets us apart. And, but I look back now, like I said, it molded me. If I didn't go through those experiences, I wouldn't probably be doing what I'm doing today. So I don't regret anything. I don't regret if anything, you're growing. You
yeah.
always grow from like really hard experiences. And
Mhm,
so that's where I take that. And I use that in my practice as a licensed professional counselor with children. I help them with their boundaries. I help them with their assertive communication, building their self-esteem, their self-worth, because knowing how it felt to be me growing up, I don't want another child to go through that blindly in life if they don't have to.
Yeah.
So, writing a book for children, another layer of helping others out there too, so they don't feel alone when their loved one is sick. And gosh, I felt alone being a cancer survivor or cancer patient at 27. So a
Mm.
lot of my work, I feel like, is for the young children, or even the adults that have grown up and still have like those deep emotional wounds from childhood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, that's resilience right there, right? It's choosing not to let your circumstances define you or crush you or keep you down, but you're using them as a platform to, to advance this message of hope for others. And I often say, like, actually, when I started Grissom Consulting 6 years ago, I had this tagline per se. It didn't make it to the tagline for the business, but then my personal tagline that kept me moving, and I actually used that as my opening act, if you want, for my chapter in in Be Resilient book. It's when we turn our stumbling blocks into stepping stones, we
Ooh,
find joy in the journey.
yes.
When
Ooh, I love
we turn our
that.
stumbling blocks into stepping stones, we find joy in the journey. And you're such an example of that, right? It's like, okay, I've been through all of this. How do I recycle this, right? And make it, give it meaning and find purpose in it. And today, all the families that you're supporting, all the children you're supporting are benefiting from, from your past experiences, right? Yes, we, like all of us, we've got the degree, the certification to do the work we do, but the reason why we got into that work is because we've been there. I was telling someone else just recently, actually, on the radio interview that I did yesterday, I was saying, I am my client. I've been where they are. And I know that I want to see the same support. And that's why I do what I do.
That's wonderful. You're that great wounded healer.
Yes, yes.
I always see
I love
those
that.
depictions on like social media where someone's bending over to help someone of the arrows on their back. There's like 50 of them, and they're
Mhm.
trying to help the other one that has like 2 arrows on their back. That's kind of who you are.
Yeah. So are you, all of us. We're not just staying there with the arrows anymore. Now we know how to duck the arrows
Yeah,
and not let it sting us.
you can
Not go
catch the
deep.
arrows now and throw it
Exactly.
right back.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna catch the arrow. You're not gonna go any deeper than a half an inch, right? It's like
Yeah.
because now you've been there. You learn, like you said, there's lessons learned, right? It's
Yes.
the things we went through, what we experienced. We've learned resilience, and resilience is not just something that you achieve. Like, I got there, I got through it, but also the endurance that you develop as you go through it. And again, all of that in the book, and then in the part of the book also goes into, it's a whole workbook that I created, and goes into different things that you can do and different skills you can build, to cultivate, that resilience. And it gives you worksheets and a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to reflect on, a lot of things to fill out, kind of process, so that again, you too can be resilient.
That's
So
incredible. And then you didn't hold all that in for yourself, and you can share that with the world.
exactly. And for everyone listening and watching, you also don't hold on all that for yourself, right? No matter what it is that you're going through, your pain has a purpose, and your mess can be a message. So with that, Rebekah, where can people find you?
They can find me at www.angelwingscoaching.com. And from there, they can find my number and email if they need to message me directly.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all that you do, not just for being here today, not just for writing the book with me, but for all that you do in general, for just you being you and letting your light shine.
Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing my authentic self to come out with
Yeah,
your partnership.
definitely. And before we go though, I almost forgot this. So
Yeah.
the book has been such a pathway to opportunities. So if you want to just briefly just tell us, like, where have you been? What have you been doing since your book came out?
Yeah, I've been interviewed on a radio station. I'm not gonna remember all the acronyms for all these
It's
stations,
all
but
good.
in a radio station with Christina Bloom, a TV station with Judy Morio with her What's Your Story out in Vegas, and then just recently a contract with PBS to advertise my book starting in the month of February all the way for 4 months consecutively. Probably 10 messages a month of airing my book, and they'll generate the ad. It's not going to be me in the ad, but more the book and the beautiful illustrations. They were impressed by the illustrations.
Yeah, definitely. I have to say, like, literally, this is beautiful.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Shout out to Susan too.
Yes.
Did all the illustrations. That's a powerful picture right there. The one that you turned to. Yeah. And you know, the funny thing about the book, it's my book and it's my vision. I still get teary-eyed looking at some of the pictures, and because I went through it. I went through it, and I think seeing it is surreal in a book because it's just kind of summarized in a book, but my goodness, when you live through it, it is a lot more life-changing and people realize. Yeah. And to go through it with a young child.
Yeah. You, my friend, are resilient, and you are sharing the resilience of others. So thank you for me, close. I just wanted you to kind of share that, because when people are going through things like, oh, this is the end of it. This is like, I'm stuck. I can't get through this. I'm not going to make it through this. But we're here to tell you can make it through this, and not just make it through for your own sake, but for the sake of many, right? Now you're sharing your message to others, giving hope to families everywhere, spreading that word, on radio stations, on TV, and now, on PBS of all places. That's and like, and I'm just so honored that, that I'm like, I know this author. We published her book, and now she's on PBS. Like, look how cool is this? Oh, I love it. So
I have a teenage daughter that keeps me humble, though.
I hear you.
No one puts you in place faster than a teenager.
Those kids, right? I hear you. So everyone, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening or watching, no matter how you're catching this. But as always, be well. You have a purpose. You're here for a reason. And if you need help finding that, you can connect with us. If your story, you have a story, not if, I know you have a story to share. And we invite you to join us, join us, partner with us, so that we can help you get that story out, not just, again, for yourself, but so that you can help others and share that resilience with the world. Be well.